back to my channel. I am Heather Tiedman and I'm a realtor down here in the beautiful area of Lexington, Columbia, South Carolina. Today we are going to be talking about things to consider if you are moving to South Carolina, specifically if you're moving to like the Columbia, Lexington, Irmo, Chapin area of South Carolina. We're going to target those specifically, but most of these could be broad across South Carolina. So just something to keep in mind. But before we get started, I am going to ask that you please like and subscribe to my channel. I greatly appreciate it. It really means the world to me, and it really helps me grow here on YouTube. Also, if you are not a part of our Moving to Lexington or Moving to Chapin Facebook groups, there is a link below down in the description box. A ton of great information there. And we would love to have you and answer any questions that you may have about the area. So let's hop right on into this. So number one, when you are considering a move to our area, this is going to be one of the big ones, and you've heard me talk about it 1,000 times, but we are right in the middle of our summer, so I'm bringing it up again. I'm going to keep bringing it up because I feel like people, even though they know this and they hear this, they are still not properly prepared, is our climate. So we are consider a humid subtropical climate categorized by hot summers and mild winters. That's what they say on Google, and completely agree with that. We are a very, very humid climate. You walk outside, and I think someone described it as you took a shower and then didn't dry off and put your clothes back on and then went outside. That's how it feels here during our summer. It is very, very hot, and I do believe that this summer has been breaking records because it's so hot. We just got back from Florida, which is also hot in Florida, but I definitely feel like it may even be more humid here than it is in Florida. One thing I did notice about Florida is like when it rains there, it cools down dramatically. Here, when it rains, it just makes it more muggy and humid outside. So definitely something to consider, especially if you are somebody that doesn't handle heat very well, is this may not be the best location for you. However, where we do thrive is our fall and spring and even really winter. Winter does get a little chilly here, but we don't really get snow, so you don't have to worry about shoveling snow. You don't have to really worry about ice too much. And we have beautiful, beautiful spring and fall months. They're cool, they're not too hot, they're not too cold for the most part, and you can really get out there and enjoy them. So for the most part, you can spend a lot of time outdoors because of that. However, during our summer, it's going to be very similar to someone's winter maybe. You may not want to spend too much time outside during our summer unless you are able to hop in a pool or go swim in the lake or tube down a river kind of thing. So just really and truly something to keep in mind, because I know we talk about that a lot, but that really and truly is a very big thing here, is understanding how hot it gets here during the summer. So number two, we're going to go into the cost of living here. Overall, if we're comparing nationwide, this area is very affordable, cost of living wise. So if you're looking for an area with a lower cost of living, lower property taxes on your homes, this may be the area for you. However, keep in mind that lower cost of living generally equates to lower pay here. So you may or may not, depending on your situation, it may be a little bit cheaper to live here, but you're also going to get paid a bit less. So definitely something to keep in mind, weighing those pros and cons. I know we have a lot of people that are able to work remotely, so they're able to keep their higher paying job and just work here where the cost of living is a lot lower, and that tends to work out in their benefit greatly. But definitely something to keep in mind is while our cost of living is lower, I don't necessarily know that our pay is in line with that, if that makes sense. Hopefully that is helpful. And then kind of going along with the cost of living, we're going to talk about our job market. And we do have a very diverse economy with a lot of opportunities here, whether it be healthcare, manufacturing, government. Really, we have a plethora of job opportunities here. The trades do very, very well here. So if you are in a trade, electrician, plumber, that kind of thing, you would tend to do pretty well here. So something to keep in mind. But also keeping in mind that it does take a while to get a job. So if you are considering a move here, definitely go ahead and start putting in those applications now, because it could take you 3 to 6 months to actually have a job offer. I see a lot of people move here with like, maybe a month in savings, and that's just not enough. Go ahead and try to line up that job before moving here so you are not stuck in a bad predicament. Also, with that said, kind of goes along with daycares, is daycares do have a wait list, so you want to go ahead and get on that list as soon as you possibly can. That way you're not stuck here waiting on a job and waiting on daycare for your children. So just putting that out there. We've discussed that before, but definitely something to consider if you are considering a move to South Carolina. Number 4 is going to be education. If you are moving here, do your research on the schools. Figure out which school district aligns with what you want your kids to attend. Also keeping in mind that just because a school district rates very highly doesn't mean that all schools within that school district rate very highly. The same with if a school district maybe rates very poorly, but you could still have very good schools within that school district. So not only researching the school district itself, but the schools within that school district. And I also recommend not just looking at stats and figures, and actually asking parents that have children that attend those schools. Because you'll always get opinions from people that have never lived in the area or have never had children attend the area. They're just basing everything off of facts and stats, which is great, and they do tell you a part of the story, but actually talking to parents and what their experience have been in the school, that can also be very helpful too, in something that you kind of want to get the whole picture. Because just because a school tests very well and does very well on tests doesn't necessarily mean it's they have the right culture there. Maybe it's very rigorous and by the books, and which is great for some kids, but it may not be great for your kid, and you are who knows your kid best and what type of environment that they thrive in. So definitely take all that into consideration. Also, in regards to education, we do, like in the Lexington, Irmo, Columbia area, we do have access to a lot of higher education options, specifically the University of South Carolina. That is a big one right here locally. You can live in Lexington, Irmo, Columbia, Chapin, and still be within 30 minutes of the University of South Carolina. So we have a lot of people that move here because their kids are going to go off there, and they still want to be close so they can visit them and see them, but not be right on top of them. Kind of like a soft launch, if you will. So something to keep in mind, we also have, tech schools. So if you are looking to go into the trades or, maybe healthcare or something, like a nurse or a tech or something, the trade schools may be great, and they're reasonably affordable. So something to keep in mind if you are moving here, because it's important to consider the availability and the quality of educational institutions in the area. So definitely something to consider if you are considering a move here, what all your options are all around you. Because even if you are here in this area, and you don't want your children to attend University of South Carolina or Benedict or any of those, and maybe they want to, go to Clemson or Charleston Southern. We're kind of centrally located where you can still be relatively close here, and your kids are just a couple hours away or less than a couple hours away. But just something to keep in mind if you are considering a move here. If you have high school kids now, and you plan on being here for a while, going ahead and researching those colleges and universities may be beneficial to you in the future. So just something to consider. So that is 4. So now we're moving on to 5, and that is recreation and things to do. I often hear that Columbia is a snorefest. I could not disagree more. I genuinely could not disagree more, because Columbia, there is always something going on in Columbia or Lexington or Irmo, and you may have to drive a little bit to get to these things, but there is so much to do. Get yourself plugged in to the community, talk to people, make friends, because I do feel like while we have so much going on and there's so much to do here, I feel like maybe the marketing isn't the best. So it is a little bit harder to find these amazing things to do if you are not actively searching and looking for these things, or know somebody that knows how to find these things. I genuinely wish they get a little bit better at marketing, because I hear this a lot and I'm like, what do you mean? Because there's always something going on. There's always something to do. There's always something to see. I can't even keep up with it. And I try very, very hard to keep up with it. But the marketing just isn't there. So I think that if this area did a better job of marketing, you would realize that Columbia really is an awesome place to be. Now, if you're coming here looking for nightlife, yes, we have bars and we have some clubs, but like we're not a tourist location. We're not going to have a ton of nightlife. But if you are, you're coming here to raise a family, 100%, we got things to do, and there's always something going on. Get yourself plugged in, make those connections, so you are able to do, find these things to do. We'll work on the marketing. We'll see what we can do. So another thing to consider is the community and lifestyle. Columbia itself is a very diverse and vibrant community with a mix of like urban and suburban neighborhoods. So you have downtown Columbia, which is very urban, what you would typically see in a small city, because Columbia is a small city. But then it's surrounded by a bunch of other towns which are very suburban. So even Columbia itself, you have downtown Columbia, but Columbia itself is massive. Like it could, one side of Columbia you could be on, and to get to the other side of Columbia, it could take you 45 minutes to an hour, because Columbia itself is huge. There's different parts of Columbia, and different parts of Columbia are going to have a completely different feel. The same with the towns surrounding Columbia. You have Lexington, which is going to be like more of a larger town that's pretty built up and ready to go. Then you have towns like Chapin, which is like, a small lake town, or you have places like Elgin, which is another smaller lake town. Blythewood, which is kind of like up and coming and growing, but still very rural. But then you have places like Irmo, which is another larger town. It's a small like landmass, but it is a larger town that's been built up with, shopping malls and places to eat and lots of retail stores, lots of things to do. So figuring out where you fit in there would be definitely something to consider, because if you're moving here with the expectation of like a tiny town, downtown Columbia may not be a good fit for you. But if you're coming here with the expectation of a family-friendly big town with things to do, places to see, convenient location, then Lexington may be a good option for you. So it's just taking into consideration what you are looking for as a whole and figuring out which of those areas fit those needs for you, because not everybody has the same needs. What I love, maybe something else somebody else hates, and what someone else hates, maybe something I love. So just definitely take into consideration what you are looking for in an area when moving here. Number 7, we're on number 7. Healthcare and services. So this is one thing that you really strongly need to consider when moving here. Finding out, one, if your insurance is available here. I know a lot of people have that struggle. So, lining up your insurance, if, they have providers here, getting appointments set up before you move, like go ahead and starting that new patient process, because it can take a little while to get in with your preferred doctor. So definitely something to keep in mind is in going ahead and researching those quality healthcare facilities, the ones that you want to be in. Go ahead and getting those appointments, because that can take time. And if you got a head start on it, you move here and it's an easy breezy process. It's definitely something that you want to consider. How far away is the nearest hospital? If you are somebody that has a lot of medical needs and you are wanting to be, really close to a hospital, well, Chapin may not be a good option for you. Lugoff may not be a good option for you. But maybe Lexington is. Or if you want to go to the VA hospital, maybe Hopkins is a good option for you. So always something to keep in mind when you are considering a move here is, what is your health situation, and do you need to be close to a hospital? What hospital do you want to be in? What doctors do you need to see? Are there certain specialties that you need to be a part of? Because those are things that you need to figure out before you move here, especially if you have healthcare needs that need to be taken care of immediately. Because it can take a little bit of time to get into these appointments. We've talked about this before. Moving on to number 8, and which is our last one, is going to be your commute and your transportation. So South Carolina, this area of South Carolina is not really a walkable area. Maybe if you live somewhere like directly in downtown Columbia, it's a little more walkable, and there is some public transportation available to you there. But for the most part, you're going to need a car here. You're going to need a way to get to, point A and point B, because it's not a super walkable community. Once you get out of downtown, that's even more so. Like, I would think it would kind of be a struggle a little bit in downtown, but I think it's doable. Whereas the other areas in, this direct area, the Columbia metro area, it's nearly impossible to have all your needs in a walkable area. So that is definitely something to keep in mind. Also keeping in mind your commute times. Where are you going to be working? When you're considering areas to move to and areas to live, where will you be working? Because while things may look close on a map, that does not necessarily mean that they are actually close to get there. And when you take into consideration traffic and like actual distance, which ways you have to go. Do you live in a neighborhood off of a main road where there's a ton of traffic and it takes you 15 minutes just to get out of your neighborhood? Do you have to, hit a main highway all the way into your job during rush hour? Are you going to be traveling in non-peak times? Maybe you can live a little further out if, your job, you have to be there at 11 in the morning or 2 in the afternoon. So you have a little more flexibility with that. So definitely take into consideration those commute times, because, I see people say, I'm perfectly okay with a 45-minute commute, but if it says 45 minutes just on a normal given day, if there's an accident on the interstate, we're talking an hour and a half now. Are you okay with that? Whereas if you would have looked somewhere where the commute was only 20 minutes and you were okay with it up to a 45-minute drive, maybe even if there is bad traffic or if there is an accident, you are, closer to that 45 minutes versus that 20 minutes. But you know what I mean? It's just definitely something to take in consideration when moving to an area, is deciding what is going to fit your needs and what you are looking for. Oh my gosh, so this was a much longer video than I normally make. I don't normally like to talk that much, but I do like to point out things that you should take into consideration, because it is a big move. If you are moving here, oh my gosh, from another state, that is a big move, and these are all things that you need to take into consideration. So I hope this video was helpful for you, and if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments below, or if you want to just talk to me directly, or really anything, my contact information is in the description box below. I'm always happy to answer any questions for you. And if you are considering a move here, I'm always happy to help you find housing. So I'm gonna get over here because now this is a 20-minute video and I like to keep them around 10 so you guys actually stick around. So most of you probably aren't gonna see me. But until next time,